Hello, this is Alfred's Basic Adult Piano Course Lesson Book Level 1. This video is Lesson 15, Introducing B for the Left Hand, which is on page 20 in our book. So page 20 focuses only on the left hand. And before we begin, go ahead and take your left hand and put it in the C position. Notice your fifth finger is on C, right? Right there. So the new note that we're going to be learning is right below it, the B. Now if you look up on the top of page 20, there's a diagram there. It shows the fingering for C, D, E, F, G, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The same fingering we've been doing all along. But sometimes the fifth finger is also going to play B. Okay. Also notice the staff there, the bass staff at the top of the page. So this B right here on the piano is the second line from the bottom of the bass staff. So whenever you see that particular B in the bass clef staff, it's always this B on the piano. Now right below the diagram it says play slowly, say the note names as you play. So in our first measure, we have C, E, and G. Now our next measure, notice it says move 5 to B. Now it's really important that you move only the fifth finger to B. You don't want to move your whole hand down, because look at my next two notes, F and G. So they show F being with the second finger and G with the thumb. If I move my whole hand down, I've got my thumb on F and now I've run out of fingers for G and I have to do some kind of funky crossover or just too much work. So what you want to get in the habit of doing is stretching the fifth finger to B. Keep the 2 on the F and the thumb on the G. Now that stretch with that pinky, you might feel a little bit of tension. Now that's normal, and the more you do this in time, it'll work itself loose. So the third measure, move 5 back to C. And we have E, and we have G. And our last measure, once again, move 5 down to B, keeping the second finger on F and the thumb on G. So when we play the whole line through, it sounds like this. Of course, there's a repeat sign too, which I won't do now for time. Always keep in mind 4 counts per measure. And notice the rhythms there, 2 quarter notes followed by a half note in every measure. Below this, it says 2 important chords. In the first pink box, it says C major, which you've already learned, C, E, and G. Now another chord, G7. So recall earlier, you just played B, F, and G. When played together, that is a G7 chord. So notice below the pink boxes there's something called a chord symbol. And it says chord symbols are always used in popular music to identify chord names. So depending on the style of music you're playing, you may see above the music notation some chord symbols. So a chord symbol means that if I see the letter C printed in my music, I can just play a C chord. And you may not see the individual notes notated on the bass staff. You may not see an actual C, E, and G. You may see only a C chord. This occurs often in what's called fake music or fake books. You'll have a melody line in the treble clef notated, and above that you'll just have chord symbols. There's no bass clef, but the chord symbols say with your left hand you can play whatever chord. So if you see a C, play a C chord. If you see a G7, play a G7 chord. Now this C chord that you're learning right here, and this G7 chord that you're also learning, that's just one of many ways to play a C chord and a G7 chord. So we're not going to get into those details right now, and the book's not either. But is this absolutely and always a C major chord? Well, those 3 notes make up a C major chord, but there's other ways to play it. The G7 chord is actually more complicated, but again, we won't get into it right now. So for now, at least for the purposes of the next few songs in this book, just learn that C, E, and G is a C major chord, and B, F, and G is a G7 chord. Now at the bottom of the page, it talks about practice changing from the C chord to the G7 chord and back again. And it shows us in detail how the fingers are going to do this. So the first finger, which is your thumb, plays G in both chords. So watch my thumb as I play both chords. It's not going to go anywhere. When I go to the G7 chord, that thumb stays right there. When I go back to C, the thumb's still there. So your thumb is going to stay on G the whole time. It says the second finger plays F in the G7 chord. So when I play my C chord, notice my second finger is not playing any notes, but it's right there above the F, ready to go. So when I go to the G7 chord, there's my second finger on F. When I go back to C chord, I'm going to try to keep it as close to that F as possible without playing it. You definitely want to avoid doing something like this. You're on your G7 chord. When you go to C, some people, their second finger just shoots way out. Practice trying to curve it down. Keep it close to that key. So when you go to the G7 chord, it's right there. So it's only the 5th finger that does all the work here. Again, our 5th finger starts on C, and it has to stretch down to the B. Now your 4th finger, notice it's not playing at all on either chord. So your 4th finger can stretch along with that pinky too. In fact, it's probably going to have to. But it's okay because the 4th finger is not playing on either chord. So as you go back and forth between these 2 chords, make sure all 3 notes are clear and even. You don't want this. So work on the balance. And take as long as you need to set yourself up for the next chord. Get your fingers on the G7 chord, the B, F, and G, and then go down. Same thing for the C chord. Make sure all your fingers are there. And then as you get more and more comfortable with it, you can start getting faster. But as you get faster, make sure that you're in control and that evenness is there. So when you get to this point, you're going to be in really good position for the next couple songs in this book. So C major chord and G7 chord are the 2 chords now you'll be using in the left hand.